So today we are going to intercool the Rodeo, but before we do that, we're going to go for a quick drive. We're going to do before and after temps of actually fitting this intercooler. So we're going to go find a big hill, put it to 0 to 100 and just get a baseline of our temps before, and then we'll put the intercooler in and do after and see how much difference we've actually made. So the number we're looking for is this one at the bottom. So we're currently at 273 degrees. That's after turbo exhaust temp. We're sitting on 80 k's an hour in 5th gear. We're just cruising. We come up to 100 zone soon, so we'll see what it does at 100. So it's accelerating to 100 from 80. And that's 100 now. So 430 on the EGT gauge. That was in 5th gear, just foot flat. And this is all pre-intercooler temps, so I haven't got the intercooler in yet. So now we're just maintaining 100 k's an hour, and it's about 317 degrees. And coming up here, there'll be a nice hill, and we'll see if we can maintain 100. So now we're just starting this hill. We'll try hold it at 100 k's an hour, and we'll just watch the EGT numbers. So maintaining 100, and we're climbing. In a bit harder, about 430 now, 20 psi boost. So yeah, max about 420, holding 100 k's up the hill in 5th, so that's not too bad. And then we'll do the intercooler and see what difference we've made. Alright, so just pulled over, we'll do a quick little speed test, just see how fast we can get it before he's corner up the end of the road. So we're starting at 193, and I'm just going to put my foot into it and see what it does. So at 550. So that's 100 k's an hour in 4th, we're at 575 degrees. So almost hitting danger territory, so hopefully the intercooler will change that for us. So time to start putting this intercooler in. So I'm gonna remove the bull bar and the grill, and hopefully that's it. As you see, there's a fair bit of space in there. Once that's out of the way, we can work on mounts for the intercooler and all our piping from turbo, go somewhere down here to the front, through there, and work its way back up to the intake. I'll have to modify that. I might do like something cool, like a forward facing plenum or something, or just simply cut the top off around there and literally spin that 180 so the outlet's here. See what we do. So bull bar's off, grill's out. So we've got to fit this in here. So what I'm thinking is I have to remove this bonnet latch support, and it should go in there quite nicely. So once I remove that, pretty much sit that up in there. Just make some mounts and fit it. So I've just got zip ties holding it on now, just sort of get my fitment, and probably where it's going to go. So I've got to check the grill, see if it fits behind it, but I put it upside down, so pretty much just go straight into there to there, because behind that is really nothing. And I'll be able to go straight up through here to the turbo. Same with this, goes through there, be under the airbox to the intake. And also avoid this aircon bit. So this still runs aircon. So yeah, that's about the fitment. I'll start making some brackets and mount that properly. as we can see, it does hit the grill being out this far. So I might push the intercooler in a bit. Then we might run into the aircon on this side, or as we cut the grill. So not sure what to do yet. I'm sure I'll work it out in a second. Yeah. Stop. Alright, so what I've done now is made that little bracket so that will hold the bonnet latch to the intercooler. That'll sit about there. And then I'll still do brackets from here to the body and same on the bottom, but that's just for now to hold it while I do those. So that'll go about there. I'll weld that on and then get the angle of the intercooler right, like this way on the bottom, and it's intercooler mounted. Yeah, as you can see, that's our bottom mount. So just weld that on there and then do the L brackets. Right, so I just mounted the cooler for now. I'll do those bits in a sec, but I just want to start on this piping. So I'm gonna have to go pretty much this coming off, and I'll be going from here, down here, hopefully down through there, and I'll drill a hole about here, join to that, and then out here, hole through there, come out under there, under the airbox somewhere, through, and do something with this intake to match it up. I want to try keep the standard airbox how it is for now. I will change that on a later date, but just for now I want the intercooler hooked up so I can still use this to drive around. I've got 2.5 inch alley piping. I've just got little offcuts from when I did my D-Max and the Patrol. So it's just what's left really, just a heap of everything. And I'll just make that fit. I didn't tell you the specs on the intercooler, but this is just an eBay 450 this way, 300 by 76. And I picked one with 2.5 inch outlets. That's because I'm using the 2.5 inch pipe and you don't need reducers. It'll just be like a straight and then straight to the pipe. And it's easier. So one thing I noticed running pipes is this corner of the battery tray is going to be in the way, especially if I want to use 2.5 inch. So I've taken the battery out. I'm just going to trim across here and up there, just get rid of that. That should still be enough to hold the battery down. but that needs to come out of the way. So I'll do that now and work out how these pipes are going. So I've roughly worked out I'm going to put the hole about there. So I'm going to put the hole about there. Hole. So I've noticed on the turbo, I thought it was going to be like a 2-inch outlet, but I think it's not. It's about 1.5 inches. So I've got to retain that elbow. And then you had this old crossover pipe. So what I've done is I've cut that off, and I'm going to weld that to with a 2.5 inch there. I'll cut it off so I can do that. And that would be like an adapter to go from there, because there won't be a silicon bend in town to suit that. So it's going to make do with what I've got. So put that there, and we'll continue 2.5 inch from that. So the turbo side's now all plumbed up, but that's only tacked in. So it's a lot of fiddling around, but I got it. So as we can see, the original little 90 that went to the original crossovers there. That's our original crossover cut up. With 2.5 inch bend welded to the original crossover, just a join. And then I'll just 2.5 inch, work my way down. So turbo side is completely done. So all welded, fitted up, and clamps done up tight. So as you see there, it comes up through there to my homemade reducer bit and turbo. Was gonna maybe make a bracket off that, stop that moving, but we'll see how it goes. It's not actually hitting anything. But see what it does. We can always do it later. So yeah, now onto the cold side and what I'm going to do with the intake. So passenger side, we'll make a start. So I'm pretty much just going to start removing just stuff that'll be in the way. I want to try to get this intake off, which looks like it's going to be a pain because there's heat hoses there, and then injector lines actually run through it by the looks. So pull all that off so I can get that off, and I'll cut the top off and make something cool out of it. And yeah, start drilling a hole through here somewhere and routing pipe. So as we can see, I got the intake manifold off, and yeah, all the injector lines I had to undo because they actually run through here. So they came off, and yeah, I'll cut this up and make some custom thing with it. I know I might do a forward facing or just make that hole pretty much go on the other side, because it's not going to work coming over top of the rock cover how it did. So yeah, we'll tick along with that. So for my intake, what I want to do is like a forward facing style plenum. I want something like that to face about out here, and then I'll just fill in all the rest. I'm going to cut this off, this face, and pretty much flat sheet it, start square, so all that will go, and pretty much go from there. We make it up as I go, but we'll see what we come up with. The idea though is just a forward facing style. And in here I've now gotten rid of the airbox. That's not going to work with the style of plenum I want to run. So now I've got actually heaps of space to run something in on that angle. And for the intake, for the air cleaner actually for now, I'm just going to make something up to go behind the motor, even just to here with a pod filter or something for now, just until I do an airbox, and then I can put the airbox there and then cut through that for a snorkel. So far on this custom plenum, so I've cut the top off. Now I've just got that sheet that I was telling you about. I was just gonna blank that side off with. So that's going on there. I do have to chop it like across there. It's got to be shorter than that. We're just sort of working out how we're doing it, but it's progressing. Progress getting made on this plenum. So now I've got that 2.5 inch bit on there, so that's giving me the angle. I've got to cut this off down here through there, and then I'll be putting this quarter piece on, which will sit like that. No, sit like that. And then from there, there'll be a triangle bit left on this top. Sheet that in and do the front, do the back. That's it. Custom front facing plenum. So yeah, now it's actually starting to look like something. So it's basically just cap this end, cap the back, and that is it. That's a forward facing plenum. I actually might put it in the car and see if it actually fits now. I haven't checked it in a while. So fitment's good. When I was making it, I was actually shutting the bonnet on it to see if that was high enough, was too high, and it wasn't. So that's going to come out alright. So when we do our intercooler pipe, it'll come out there, through the body, and then pretty much be from there to there. So it should be pretty easy. Alright, so it's day 2 working on this front mount intercooler. So as you can see, we've got new custom plenum on as well, and we just got to do this intake side intercooler piping. I did manage to get the original like air cleaner pipe to the turbo back on, because with the height of my plenum, it actually fitted underneath it. But the airbox won't fit, so I'm actually just going to run a pod filter off that into this corner for now. I might later on make an airbox, but that's for later plans. So today we will finish this off and hook it up to the intercooler, I just need to put my hole through there and start building it. And yes, the bonnet will shut at this height. I've checked it last night and that's all good. So we'll crack on. So I've now got this intake all welded out, as you can see. So I'm gonna tap it out just for a boost reference for my boost tee, actually, for what controls my wastegate. So I'm gonna drill out and tap through there, put that in, and we can fit this to the car. So we've currently got the Plenum on, that's bolted on for good now. We got the passenger side of the intercooler pipes done. They're all in properly, with all clamped up. So now what I'm working on is, I just want to put this pod filter in. So the standard crossover intake pipe actually fitted under there, which is good. But of course, there was no 2.5 to 3 inch reducer in town, so perfectly the old crossover pipe, I've welded 2.5 inch that side, 3 inch that side. So that'll go in the pod, and this is actually perfect 2.5 inch. So that'll sit in there, pod will sit there, and it'll just sit in the corner here. So once it's in, I will make up a little bracket to hold it so it doesn't just flop around. And then that's pretty much our setup. After that, we'll take it for a drive and see what difference this intercooler has made. Alright, as you can see, intercooler done, car's back together. So that's my air filter set up for now. Might do an air box later with a snorkel, but that's just gonna do. Yeah, everything's plumbed up. We'll take it for a drive. It is night time outside now, but we'll still see what difference this intercooler will make. So I'm doing 80, I'm in 5th gear, we're at 224 degrees, and accelerate for this 100 zone. So it's foot flat in 5th. That's 100, so that's 370 if you got 2. Now this is just maintaining 100 k's an hour. Coming up, so we're only doing 85 at the moment because of this caravan, so try and maintain 100 and see what we get to with the EGT gauge. Last time we went up here we got to 430, so see what it does this time. So that's 100 k's, we'll just hold that. Difference from 430. Alright, so here I'll do the 0 to 100 again, so it'd be 100 in 4th gear. Last time we did this we got to 570 at the pretty much bang on 100 k's, so see what it does now with this intercooler. And pretty much just hit 500 degrees, so 70-degree difference on just holding it foot flat. So now all that's done and we're actually running cooler EGT temps, I'm actually going to crank the fuel up now. So I'll show you how I do it. We'll put a bit more fuel in, it won't go crazy. We've already run half a turn on the fuel screw and I've played with the boost compensator. So I'll just have a look at what it's doing and we'll put more in and have another drive. So I've got this boost compensator pin out. So what this does is when you get boost, this drops, another little pin will ride up that wedge and then put more fuel in. So if you can see, it's really faint. There's a scratch mark on that pin. So that's the actual pin I was talking about that puts more fuel in. So that's riding the whole way on that wedge. So we can't really do much more with the boost compensator there. We pretty much just got to do overall fuel. So the way I've got it to drop, the pin drops so much further because it doesn't actually drop that far standard. I want you to see it there, there's the old scratch mark there, so it's tiny. The boost pin barely drops, so we're going from that to a mark that drops the whole way of the wedge, if you can see it. But in here, so normally there was two little poly washers as well, they come out. And I wound that spring, this, it's called a spring seat, this cog looking thing, all the way down as far as it could go. And pretty much just put it back together, so that way the pin will drop as far as possible. The pin faces forwards too, so when you look at this and you actually spin it around, it's not actually like a proper, it's not in the middle basically, the taper. So you can actually rotate this pin around to get more aggressive on boost fueling, and I had it like the most aggressive I could. So for that, can't do anything about it. Now it's just my overall fuel. It doesn't even blow any soot at the moment, so we can crank it up till it blows some soot or till I max the pump. So we'll see which one is first. So now I'm just going to do my fuel screw adjustment. So this one here, so it's got a 13mm locking nut and it's just a flat blade you can put in the end. And we're going to wind it inwards for more fuel. So it's already been done half a turn. I'll probably go a quarter to a half again. And we'll take it for a drive, see how we go. And that's really it. They're talking about maxing the fuel pump, so what I was. So when you wind that in for more fuel, your idle picks up. So your idle screw, which is here, you've got to wind that out as well. Once that's wound all the way out and you've wound in the fuel to match your original idle, that's technically maxed pump. So you can just keep winding that in, but when you idle, you can idle like 1000, 1200 RPM, which isn't good. And after that, you got to upgrade to 12mm pumps or something like that. But for this standard turbo, which we're running there, this will be enough to supply fuel for that. I will be upgrading that later on. I'm just trying to figure out what turbo I want to put on it, but that's a later issue. So I just went half a turn again with the fuel screw. Now I'm just adjusting the idle screw, because it would have picked up revs at idle. So we'll back this off, wind this out a little bit, and we'll start it, and then we'll just fine tune the idle screw. Start about there. So done my idle screw, done my fuel, and blowing a bit of soot now, so we'll take that for a drive and we'll see how much harder it goes really. Soot, which is good. This is third gear, foot flat. So it's doing alright. It's not slow. Doing that. So yeah, that's it. So we done the front mount, the plenum, more fuel, and pretty much just a custom little pod filter. But overall we've done a full turn on the fuel screw, played with the boost compensator, and it goes way harder than it originally did. So yeah, we're able to spin the 32-inch muddies on the bitumen. So it's a lot different from standard where you can barely just move along really. So yeah, that's it. Next, I want to look at new turbos and yeah, keep going from there.